Good evening. I'm Lancaster. There are places people avoid because they're dangerous. And then there are places people avoid without ever knowing why. Tonight's story was sent to me by a woman who grew up in a small town in North Carolina. She insisted every word was true. After reading it, I'm not sure I wanted to believe her. So, turn down the lights, get comfortable, and whatever you do, don't listen alone. When I was 12, my grandmother warned me never to walk down Old Mill Road after sunset. She never explained why. She'd simply say, "Some roads lead somewhere. That one remembers." I thought she was trying to scare me. Grandparents do that sometimes. So, one October evening, I ignored her. The sun had almost disappeared when I reached Old Mill Road. The woods were quiet. Too quiet. No birds. No insects. Even the wind seemed afraid to move. About a mile in, I saw it. A white church. Small. Wooden. Perfectly kept. Fresh paint. Clean windows. Flowers blooming beneath the front steps. Even though it was early November, I lived there my whole life. I'd never seen that church before. A single bronze bell hung in the tower. It rang once. Not loudly, just enough to tell me someone knew I was there. The front door slowly opened. No one stood inside. Curiosity won. It usually does. I stepped inside. The air smelled like old wood and rain. Sunlight poured through stained glass windows. Dust floated in the light. Everything looked normal. Rows of empty pews, an old piano, a wooden cross behind the pulpit. Nothing strange until I looked closer. Every pew held a Bible. Every Bible had a name written inside the cover. None of them matched. Hundreds of different names, different handwriting, different decades, as if each Bible had belonged to someone else. I heard footsteps, slow, measured, from somewhere behind me. I turned. No one. The footsteps stopped. I walked farther down the aisle. They started again, always matching mine. One step behind, never closer, never farther away. I reached the pulpit. There was a guest book resting on the top. The last signature was dated 1974. Beneath it, someone had written one sentence: "Don't let them ring the bell." The ink looked fresh. Then, the bell rang. Once. Twice. 3 times. The church changed. The stained glass windows became cracked. The fresh paint peeled away before my eyes. The flowers outside shriveled into dead vines. Dust covered everything. The air turned cold. Very cold. I wasn't alone anymore. Every pew was occupied. Men, women, children, all sitting perfectly still, facing the front. None of them blinked. None of them breathed. Their clothes looked decades apart. Some wore suits from the 1950s. Others looked much older. One little girl still held a faded teddy bear. Slowly, every head turned toward me at exactly the same speed. Then they smiled. Not wide, not unnaturally, just enough, as if they recognized me, as if they'd been expecting me. The piano began playing by itself, a hymn I didn't recognize. One by one, the congregation stood. No sound, no movement except rising to their feet. Then they began walking toward me. Not fast, not slowly, just inevitably. I ran. The front doors wouldn't open. I pulled until my hands hurt. Nothing. Behind me, the footsteps never sped up. They didn't need to. They already knew where I was going. Someone whispered beside my ear, "You forgot." I spun around. No one. Another whisper, "You always forget." Then, the church bell rang again. Everything disappeared. I was standing outside, alone. The church was gone. Only pine trees, an empty clearing, and fading daylight. I ran home without looking back. My grandmother was on the porch. She didn't ask where I'd been. She looked at my face and quietly said, "You heard the bell." I nodded. She closed her eyes. "I hope you never find that place." The next morning, she drove me to the sheriff's office. An older deputy met us at the front desk. His uniform looked worn. His face looked more tired than old. Grandma never explained anything. She simply handed him a folded piece of paper. He read it, looked at me, then asked, "Did they speak to you?" "Only a whisper." "What did it say?" I swallowed. "It said, 'You always forget.'" The deputy stared at the floor for a long moment. Finally, he sighed. "That's new." It was the only emotion I had seen from him. Not fear, concern. Before we left, he stopped me. "If you ever hear church bells again, count them." "Why?" He looked towards the window. "Because sometimes they're not calling you, they're counting." Years passed. My grandmother died. Old Mill Road was widened. New houses were built. People forgot there had ever been woods there. Forgot there had ever been rumors. Forgot there had ever been anything unusual at all. Last month, I went home for the first time in years. I drove down Old Mill Road. Nothing. Just neighborhoods, mailboxes, streetlights. As I turned around, I noticed a young family unloading groceries. Their little boy pointed toward an empty lot. "Mom, I hear bells." She smiled without looking up. "What bells, sweetheart?" He frowned. "The church." There wasn't one. I looked anyway. Nothing. Then, very faintly, carried on the wind, I heard it. 1, 2, 3, 4. I drove away before I could. So, if you ever find a church, you don't remember passing before? Don't stop to look inside. And if the bell rings, don't wait to find out. Who is counting? Sleep well. And I'll see you next time. After Dark.